If you're a Sydney-based property investor and you're looking at buying interstate property, here's the cash flow trap I see all the time. People buy a place that looks like a great rental yield, and then 6 to 18 months later, they say, how is this thing draining my cash flow? And contrary to popular belief, it's not the interest rate. It's the land tax and underlying expenses. And the fact that amateur property investors only look at the rental yield, not the net rental return. In this video, I'm going to break this down properly for you. We will go through why gross rental yield can be misleading, the difference between gross rental yield and net rental yield, a holding cost checklist that interstate buyers can use, and finally a simple example to show you how it all works. Before we get into it, here's a quick disclaimer. This is not financial advice. It's general information and education only. Land tax and underlying expenses will vary from state to state and LGA to LGA, as well as ownership structures. So always confirm with your accountant. This video is for Sydney-based property investors looking to buy property interstate without getting surprised by holding costs. So let's start off by defining the trap. Most property listings and buyer conversations start with one thing. What's the rental yield? But the truth is, rental yield is normally a gross yield. It's basically saying, how much rent do I get compared to what I paid? The issue is that rent is only one side of the equation. Your cash flow is the rent minus the underlying expenses. And the vast majority of these costs are often predictable, but they're often ignored as well. A big one for interstate investors that's often ignored is land tax. Different states, different thresholds, different rates, and different aggregation rules. Depending on your structure, whether personal name, trust, company, or self-managed super fund, the outcome can change. So if you buy based on the gross rental yield, you can tend to buy a property that looks good on paper, but is actually a pain in real life. Let's try making this simple. Gross rental yield equals the annual rent divided by the purchase price multiplied by 100. Now, this is a useful starting number, but it's ignoring the costs. The net yield equals the annual rent less any annual holding costs divided by the purchase price multiplied by 100. Now, here's a checklist that I want you to use before you fall in love with the gross rental yield figure. Holding costs can typically include property management fees, letting or leasing fees, council rates, water rates, insurance, strata costs if it's a strata titled property, maintenance, compliance costs such as smoke alarms, safety checks, and 1 or 2 weeks worth of vacancy allowance, because we all know that properties aren't occupied the full 52 weeks out of the year. And the last one is land tax. Some of these costs are small individually, but they can make a property go from a healthy rental return to a tight rental return. So for the last one, let's talk about land tax, because this is often where interstate investors start to feel the pinch. The thresholds and rates differ state by state, and aggregation also matters because it's based on the total taxable land value that you have in that state. In addition, your structure matters, the entity that you hold the property in, whether it's your individual name, via trust, via company, or self-managed super fund. This can change the threshold and rates assessment for your taxable land value. Now, I'm not saying don't buy interstate, but what I am saying is understand the underlying expenses before you buy interstate. Let's see if we can do a clean example. Let's say we have a purchase price of $750,000 with a weekly rental return of $750 per week. The annual rent equals 52 weeks times $750 per week, with a total of $39,000 per year. Therefore, the gross rental yield equals $39,000 divided by $750,000, which equals a 5.2% rental yield. So far, most people will stop here and say, wow, great rental yield. Now let's add in some realistic holding costs. Property management fees of around about 7% are going to be about $2,730. A leasing allowance of 1 week's rent, $750. Council and water rates, $2,500. Insurance costs, $1,500. Some maintenance allowance, approximately $1,500, compliance checks, $300, and 1 to 2 weeks vacancy allowance, $750 to $1,500. And lastly, we'll include some land tax, the one that most people often forget. We'll estimate $2,000 in this example. Now let's calculate the net yield. The net yield will equal our annual rent less underlying expenses divided by purchase price. Let's take a rent of $39,000, less our cost estimate of around about $15,000. This means our net rental return will be $24,000, making this property a net yield of 3.2%. This is the whole point. A property can gross 5.2%, but only net 3.2%. Now here's the rule that we abide by. We do not purchase property based on gross rental yield. Before we purchase, we model the underlying expenses and consider whether it's a good investment or not. Because the goal isn't to just buy any property, it's to buy investment grade property that you can hold through multiple property cycles without any stress on your cash flow. So here's a quick recap. Gross rental yield is a starting point, not a decision point. Net yield will tell you how the property actually behaves. Land tax is state specific and structure specific, so don't take a one-size-fits-all approach, because if you ignore it, it can ruin your cash flow quickly. If you want a strategy first plan and you want me to sanity check your numbers, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can book a complimentary strategy session using the link in the bio below. And if you want, comment net yield in the comments section below, and I'll send you the link to a free cash flow tour. Thanks for watching, and please don't hesitate to like and subscribe for more videos just like this.